Testing this. Okay. Hello. Okay, now it's working. All right. So, this is an incredibly important video. And, this is going to be huge, what I'm going to be talking about. It is going to cover a really long, extended time period. And so you can refer back to this within the next 2.5 years, starting very, very soon. And I'll get into the dates and things like that. But this video is about Saturn in Pisces. This is so huge. And I know someone very personally who has this placement, who is going to be experiencing his second Saturn return, because there's usually 3 that you experience in your lifetime. And I hope that this is informative, insightful, and has a lot of good information. And I hope that you enjoy it. And I hope that you'll share this video, like it, and hopefully I'll cover all that I need to cover and get in depth about this incredibly profound planetary transit. So it is Saturn moving into Pisces. And so Saturn is going to officially move into Pisces on March 7th, 2023. And it's going to be on May 24th of 2025 that Saturn is going to move into the sign of Aries for a little while until August 31st, 2025, when Saturn is moving retrograde, and then moves out of Aries back into Pisces, and then fully leaves Pisces on February 13th, 2026. So February 12th of that year is the last day that Saturn will be in the sign of Pisces. And I may do another video about that when it gets closer to that time. Who knows what I may be doing, or I may be interested in my life at that time. Hopefully I'll still be interested in this, and I'll still do this, and I'll come on and do these videos and create posts about astrology and spirituality and all the things I'm doing online. Who knows what'll happen in the next 2 to 3 years, and my interests, and how I am changing and growing as a person. And there's sure to be a lot of really important, powerful lessons that so many people in the world will be learning and taking away from this transit. And so it is going to be from March 7th through February 12th of 2026 that this transit is going to be happening and occurring. And a couple of the kind of random thoughts that come to mind with this, and this is where I'm being very creative, because Pisces deals with being creative, and being really imaginative. I remember going to see a therapist. This was a couple years ago in 2021, and that particular building that I went to see this therapist sticks out in my mind as a powerful symbol of Saturn in Pisces, because to me it would symbolize a house of God, or a house of a temple of a higher power or higher force, and a Serapis building, which ties into what I'm going to be talking about with Pisces. And I don't know if the person that I had as a therapist had her Saturn placement in Pisces. Um, and then another little image that I have gotten about this is, in the summertime with this placement, it's really, really hot, and you're in Turkey and you're taking a bath in Turkey. And that to me relates to the cleansing of the soul aspect of Pisces. Um, and so this transit for me brings to mind the movie and the story Wrinkle in Time, if you've ever heard of that, about um, a girl named Meg who found the belief in herself after going, across the universe to save her father and to get him back, and she had a journey with these really influential beings, and these light beings who traveled from one galaxy to the other, and they hear calls and they help people in that whole storyline. And another thought that I have is the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit, because of the new worlds, of traveling and exploring new worlds, and those kind of adventures with the Lord of the Rings, and what happened there. The last time that this transit happened, which was from I want to say from 1990, 93, 1994 to 96, so the mid 90s, when this happened. And so, with Harry Potter dealing with magic and different kinds of worlds with that, and spells, and Pisces corresponds to magic, and all those kinds of things. That was something that came about as well at that time. And so, it may feel with this transit coming in, that first day, or the time of year, and I think weather plays a significant role, like what kind of thoughts you have or nostalgia you have for this kind of occasion that you're thinking of when it comes to viewing and experiencing a certain type of weather, be it sunny or cloudy. And so, um, maybe that would be important to take note of, but also what is going on in your life in terms of your experiences, themes, and the lessons of what is the situation with the circumstances happening in your life at the time that Saturn ingresses in Pisces, which is only in a couple of days, beginning on March 7th. And so, in a way, it is the beginning of the end, because we're completing a 28 year cycle of Saturn through the signs. So we're coming to the end, and this to me, represents a time of completion, a time of reflection, a time where we may sit with ourselves and reflect on how far we've come, especially for those people who will be experiencing their Saturn return. And so, the first Saturn return is ages 28 through 30. The second is when you're 58 through 60, and then 88 to 90. And this can be transitional times in your life where the 28 to 30 Saturn return, you're moving into adulthood, and then 58 to 60, you're settling into your older years. 88 to 90, you're um, sort of at the kind of, getting near the termination period of kind of, um, death and, leaving this planet. So, there are times, especially, the 28th through 30 Saturn return. It's a time where it is critical that you get disciplined and you see where you're not taking responsibility, where you're not working towards what you need to work for. And it's about getting really grounded and focused and committed and being willing to put the work in and cultivate a sense of maturity, which is a huge part of what Saturn wants to teach us, the various aspects of your life, in regards to how you want to live your life, how you want to structure it, what boundaries you want to draw. And so people 28 through 30 are settling into their adulthood with, wife and kids, and, hopefully a career and all that. And I mean, this is what I'm going to say for anyone who is going to be experiencing a Saturn and Pisces return. If you have been putting if you've been putting spirituality and your spiritual practices and your spiritual connection on the back burner, and you've been avoiding it and resisting it and not acknowledging it and looking to the more rational, logical side of your life and going on, that spiritual narcolepsy, of where, this time throughout the, year when Neptune, the planet of dreams and spirituality, is retrograde. And that's a time where we can see things more clearly and logically, and that can certainly have its benefits. But this is a time where those people who have this placement, Saturn in Pisces, and will be going through the Saturn return, now is the time, if you have any spiritual plans or goals, now is the time to get serious and act upon them and really commit to a spiritual practice and get serious about your, spiritual lives and your spiritual trajectory, and what you want to do. And so it also relates to all the themes I'm going to get into here. But now is where we can really get grounded about all those spiritual practices, for all of us, particularly those people who are going through a Saturn return, and who will be going through either the first, second, or third Saturn return in their lives. And so, it's about implementing that into your life. And, we've had, it's so interesting to think about that we've had Jupiter, which is, the great benefic. It is about luck and expansion and higher learning and travel. And it's also about cultivating more wisdom as we go through our life experiences. We've had that planet in Pisces from May 13th through July 28th, 2021, and then December 29th, 2021 through May 10th, 2022, October 28th, 2022, through up until December 20th of last year, 2022. So that's been times where we've gotten lucky when we've tapped into the Piscean themes, and where we can um, do those kind of spiritual practices. And it's an opportunity, and Jupiter was inviting us, but now Saturn's coming into the picture. Saturn is now moving into Pisces. So this is another, this is Pisces, but it is more of a Saturnian, of another type of Pisces, I want to say, other types of qualities involving the sign of Pisces, which is really interesting to think about in the fact that it's happening in March in Pisces season, um, the same month as Pluto will move into Aquarius. So Saturn's moving into Pisces, and out of the really big things that's happening this year, Saturn is changing signs. So anyway, now I want to officially get into what this transit is all about. So Saturn is the planet of discipline. It deals with, sort of the old way of, living and going about our lives. It deals with discipline of you sort of, following the status quo, following your timetable and getting your work done on time, and, getting things done and in an efficient way, and working very hard to do that. And it is about the kind of limited energy, because Saturn deals with limitations. And it also deals with structure, of what are the structures that we need to put in place in our lives, to better our lives, and to for us to go down the right path, and a path of evolution, a path of where we can get what we need and get what we want, and work towards our purpose in this lifetime. Because, the first astrologer, and she's also a psychotherapist that I've followed, Deborah Silverman, talks about the fact that you didn't get pushed on the bus to be here. You were here for a reason, and you were here to fulfill some kind of purpose and some calling. And I want to throw in, soul agreement, that your soul signed up for this experience and this, lifetime. And, the soul's that sort of spiritual and material part of yourself that needs to steer the ship, not the ego. And so, it is about getting honest and serious about that. It's also the taskmaster. Saturn deals with the sort of father figure. It corresponds to a kind of patriarchal society model, or a traditional society, because Saturn also deals with tradition and the way that things have always been done over the years, and really honoring that, really honoring those traditions, and ancestors, and wisdom keepers, and looking to them. And it is about history. It is about the past, the sort of the structures, and their those significances, how those are significant. It deals with time. Time is limiting, and we only have a finite amount of it, and how we're going to utilize our time, and how we're going to make the most of it, and are we going to use it wisely. It deals with the hard knocks. If you've seen Annie, that movie, and you've heard the Hard Knocks song, it is about, well, Jupiter brings blessings and, and opportunities. Saturn does so. It brings us blessings, but it presents those obstacles of what we need to work towards, the challenges we need to overcome to then, receive those blessings. And it is there to teach us lessons and to have us work hard and grow in powerful ways. And it deals with the government and institution. Saturn rules Capricorn, and it deals with those kind of power structures. Pluto's in Capricorn. It's finishing up its stay in Capricorn, the 29th degree of Capricorn, on the ingress of Saturn moving into Pisces. And ingress is just a astrological term for if a planet or luminary or asteroid enters a sign. And so Pluto's in Capricorn, transforming, destroying, and really bringing to light the power structures which have been there for a long time, those traditional power structures that aren't serving us and that take away our power. And it also reveals people in power, and it also deals with, Pluto deals with empowerment and developing your inner authority. But that's a whole other conversation. And Capricorn symbolizes the mountain goat. So it's a mountain goat energy of moving slowly and steadily toward the peak and not giving up. Not giving up. Saturn is about not giving up, of being determined, of being persistent about your goals. And it is, and it's about the process of aging and becoming wiser, like a fine wine ages. And I think I have a post about that on Instagram, on YouTube. The community tab of this channel may also be on Facebook, which talks about, wine and how wine, when you're aging it, it's not just good right away. It has to age, and it has to set so the flavors can develop. And if it's rough on the edges, then give it some more time. It's about with age comes wisdom. But on the contrary, people with a lot of Capricorn are metaphorically old when they're young, and young when they're old. Anyway, so now getting into Saturn in Pisces. So this deals with a validation of anything mystical or spiritual, anything regarding that. The any kind of teacher who is that, any spiritual book, or destination that may be spiritual, or any again, if I didn't say this before, any practice that may be spiritual, anything that encompasses spirituality, such as even going out in nature, and the spirit, and that there is God, however you want to think of it, is all around us. It's not just this white guy in the sky, but it is all It is, in everywhere and everything, and it, created us. And throughout these 2.5 years, we may um, honor and step more fully into that connection with that kind of form of higher consciousness, in a way of connecting with whatever we view as our higher power. And it's important during these 2.5 years to really develop a greater relationship to your higher power, whatever that may be. Um, and you're sort of in a deeper relationship and co-creating your life through that higher power. Um, and getting into, I'll sort of maybe bounce back and forth when talking about all the themes in this video. It deals with healthy boundaries because Pisces rules over, if you think about, if you were to associate Pisces and the ocean waves, and how, there's no boundaries, and there may be more structures to regulate water during Saturn and Pisces, and clean up pollution and all those kind of things like dams and so many different things. And I'm sure there's several mundane or astrologers who deal with world events who will talk in depth about that. But it deals with, because Pisces is, the sea in Pisces, because of its open sense of empathy and compassion, it can get, sort of swept up in a moment, and it can be a sign that can, get taken advantage of by other people. And it's sort of, I was watching this film which was meant to teach a lesson about, about the homeless person, and that homeless person may be, um, needing help. And it is about, being there to serve the people who need help, but to where that can become destructive if you let them into your life too much, and you may get deceived, and they may be, deceitful, and then you let them into your life, and then when they start taking advantage of you, then that regret comes in, and all those negative feelings. Pisces is a sense of dissolving any kind of limitation or boundary or ego separation. It is sort of the vanishing mirror of of the mirror of how we look in the mirror, because we care about our appearances, and we care about how others see us through our ego, through our egos. And we obviously want to go with the soul, and not the ego, which separates, presents the us versus them mentality. We are not connected to spirituality or our soul, of really dropping into what feels right and what feels true, when we're not trusting our intuition and letting our ego run our lives, which is kind of like the, can link to the idea of the monkey mind, or a dog that won't stop barking. But it deals with that sense of compassion to everyone and everything, of the Pisces person, especially if you have a lot of planets in Pisces, or um, you know, um, with that Pisces energy, um, it is about caring and feeling others' pain and knowing and empathizing what others are going through. But Saturn is about boundaries, and so it's interesting when the planet of order and structure is entering a sign that isn't ordered and structured and deals with the chaos. And so it is going to be about where we're going to establish healthy boundaries and not be a people pleaser, or martyr or yes person, and um, and be authentic, take care of ourselves, put ourselves first, take time out to replenish and recharge our batteries, um, and then come back. Is because when we feel nourished, or we feel secure and at peace and rested, and um, you know all those kind of things. And when we feel like we have enough, gas in our tank, and secure enough, peaceful enough, then we, once we help ourselves and put our oxygen mask on first, then we can help others. Um, so, that is also an important theme. And, this also may be a time where, we can take compassion and empathy with practicality of where we can, help others, nourish others. This may be a time where more people are seeking out to go to psychic healers or therapists or counselors, to talk about what is going on in their lives, with what they're feeling, and the problems and challenges that they're experiencing, and getting the help they needed, and trusting and knowing that they are not beyond hope, is another kind of important thing here, and something to remember, that you are not broken, not hopeless, and that Pisces can fix any kind of tool in the tool shed, even if it's broken. There's no broken person or thing which cannot be repaired, and everyone can be helped, and everyone can experience that love and that care, being nurtured, being loved, positive things, because Pisces is the last water sign in the zodiac, and so it's the collective. So the collective experience of water, um, and so um, that's another important theme. And I was watching a video from a YouTube channel about Saturn and Pisces and the natal chart, and those themes kind of can tie into the transit. That maybe when there's a kind of energy of that you are helping others, and you are nourishing others, um, nurturing others, or when you feel like you want to nurture somebody else and be there for them, and talk with them about their, what they're going through, and help them through it, or ease their pain, or communicate in a love language, be it, speaking, hugging, writing a letter, holding space for that person in your heart, um, and, all those things that you would do for that person, and that may be a sign that you really want to be nurtured. So you're sort of giving that to somebody else, because you know how it feels not to be nurtured and not to be loved and taken care of, and not to have somebody emotionally available, or to experience those negative feelings of pain, sorrow, depression, guilt, sadness, hopelessness, all those kind of things. And you feel that, and when um, when we emphasize with that, then we understand what that person is going through, and we can help them in that kind of way. But it's important not to leave ourselves out of the picture, because we can, Pisces is a kind of other energy where we can help others and take care of others. But let's not forget about self-care and self-love, and coming back to the self. Spirituality is another huge theme. Um, and um, even studying spirituality, going to church, or um, or living into your kind of spiritual values, and maybe becoming more aware, and invested in it, because it is a way of life, and it is going to be a time where it's going to be really important to bring in and live a life of more spiritual meaning. And we can do that through various kinds of spiritual practices, which I've spoken about before. Um, and one of such as when we're meditating, and we can get grounded in our minds, and it can relieve any stress and anxiety. It can center us. We can feel at peace and more nourished. And we can also, through that altered state of being, be connected to, to so many different things, because when one of our senses is sort of turned off, when we're not seeing things, we can sort of the other sense turns on. More we're becoming more aware of that sense. And I also think that maybe the intuition being put on the back burner. Now's the time when you go to the intuition gym, and strengthen your connection to intuition, and strengthen your connection with your intuition, and believe in your intuition, and just trust that it's leading you in the right direction, and not getting caught in the stagnation and the indecision and the fork in the road, but just taking action and making a choice, and we're willing to do and go where this feels right, and what we should do, and knowing where we shouldn't go, or what we shouldn't do. So not only our logical minds, so we were deciding how to direct our lives, but also our inner knowing, and the inner teacher and guide inside of us, or it can be gut feeling, or instincts, or however you want to think of it. But where that can become the first sense, or first sense, and not necessarily the sixth sense, but it can be really important. And another note that I want to make is now, Neptune's been in Pisces since March, I think, maybe April 2011, since 2011, and more people have started, looking into spirituality. Astrology and spirituality has really taken off and become more popular, and now is where more spirituality and astrology may be in force in our lives. And we may see that when we go in these directions, that can really surface, and that's what we're going to be working with for the next 2.5 years. And in schools, school system, I was watching another astrologer talk about Saturn and Pisces, and she was saying that astrology might be taught in schools, or maybe learning about the law of attraction, or self-worth, and those kinds of spiritual topics may get more enforced in the school systems. That may be more important for us, and for those who have not joined the bandwagon of spirituality, astrology, of the right brain way of living, not getting so caught in the stuck in the masculine left brain way of living, but moving into the sacred feminine way of living, and getting into spirituality, living more spiritually, then this will really be probably calling to those people to join that bandwagon and move in those kind of new directions. And so, that's one spiritual practice is meditation. Another kind of spiritual practice would be oracle cards, which you can use to get guidance and wisdom for your from one day to the next, or you can do a monthly oracle reading or a weekly, where you choose where you're choosing a question, which is not a yes or no question, because yes or no questions can be limiting. So you obviously want to choose a question like, what do I need to know about this situation or this person, or how should I approach this, or for my highest good, and possibly, for you not to forget the highest good of all. And so, it's where you can connect to the divine through images and symbols, and they can just be invitations and suggestions of how to live more meaningfully, instead of dictatorial, and you have to take them ultra seriously in their magic and their because they're cards in a box. But like really this kind of making spirituality rational, and not putting down the term woo woo and magic, of understanding that it's real, and understanding the importance of it, and implementing that in our lives. Journaling, writing down our thoughts, and voicing it out loud. Self-love, forgiveness, praying, connecting in nature, especially meditating in nature, getting your feet on the earth, which corresponds to Saturn, since Saturn's a very earthy planet. But just meditating outside would be good. Been a huge service and deed and favor that you can do for yourself. And so, also when it comes to just health-related stuff, there's several other astrologers who can talk about that. But, when it comes to, your immune system, it's going to be really important to drink more liquids, or to wear clothes that aren't so tight, or to get outside and get exercise and get sunlight more often, and take advantage when you can, and keep a strong constitution um, because of certain bodily liquids or those types of things. And dancing, because Pisces rules the feet and the creative arts and movement, and Pisces being creative and corresponds to dancing. And when I think of Pisces, I think of um, the ballerinas. Like the first kind of thing that comes into my mind, interestingly enough, is a ballerina dress, and so that plays into um, Pisces. So um, you know, I think this is important to acknowledge, and those New Year's resolutions, if those related to any kind of spiritual practices, now is the time where, if you've been putting it off or avoiding or not getting serious about it, now's the time to get serious about it, and maybe make it a routine, or bring it more into your life. And then any kind of dream that you have, turn it into reality, materialize it, because Saturn is not about the dreams; it is about the reality. Um, and Pisces deals with the dreams; it deals with the visions that you have, and what you're imagining, and what you want in your life, and what if this could be this way, or maybe reinventing yourself, or changing your life, or any kind of dream that you have. Now is the time where it's time to make those dreams a reality, especially if they deal with the creative fields like writing or painting or singing, um, and taking action on those fields. Like if you want to write a storybook or a novel, now is a great time where the industries which relate to the arts may, this may be a really productive time for those um, industries. If you want to, write a novel or paint a painting, or start an art career, or be a music composer, great time for that, because Pisces deals with the creative fields. And so it's also about understanding the importance of soul connection, dreams, and intuition, and where we're connecting with others, and really in the kind of spiritual way, and holding space for what they're going through, and being there for that person, and receiving love, as opposed to giving all the time. The dance between giving and receiving is important here too. And are we open to receiving that love, that care, and that um, the blessings of the universe? And we may be more closed off, and not too open to compassion or emotion, but it's important to acknowledge that, um, and really see the importance of that. And um, I'm gonna get into more things here, and again, reevaluating or evaluating your connection to spirituality or spiritual life and practices, self-love, forgiveness, and forgiveness is really, really, so you're forgiving yourself for any regret or any thing that you have done in the past that you regret, and it's about sitting with that and then being willing to feel that and then release it and be present. Um, and so Pisces deals with our vulnerabilities, and let's not forget the vulnerable side, the feeling side. Um, okay, so um, vulnerabilities, tenderness, all those kind of things. Okay, so with this, there can also be some challenges of distinguishing and separating the material from the immaterial, because you're viewing the spiritual realms and the material world at the same time, and it will be about bridging that, bridging those two worlds and integrating them more fully. Um, and I think I had a song maybe about Saturn and Pisces, about sitting in the silence and embracing the quieter moments of life. And it may feel really quiet, and you're going inward, introverted. It's an introverted energy where you're going inside yourself, and so that's how a Saturn in Pisces may feel. And it also may feel like you're trying to maybe hold on to something, grab onto something that may be difficult to get, grab onto. Um, and connection to the heart is another thing. Taking time to listen to yourself. There's a song from a movie called Pocahontas. If you've ever seen the animation Disney movie, which is a take on the true story. There's a song called "Listening to Your Heart," and you will understand, and allowing your heart to lead the way. And yeah, and doing what the heart wants, and heart can be unruly and all of that, but fulfilling what you need on a heart and soul level, and what are the things that really make your heart sing. Those are, this is going to be a time where, you may want to do that. And manifestation, also co-creation, as I was talking about earlier. And maybe we're needing to draw the healthy boundaries of where we're feeling so much pain, so much stimulus, and being, deals with, because Pisces also relates to being overwhelmed with those kind of feelings. So we may want to take time out to, recharge, and, not getting so caught in the, those kind of stories and rising above the fray for certain things, and yeah, so having a greater sense of self-respect and choosing to live a life of more peace and simplicity, if that's what you desire to do, it's also wonderful 2.5 years to go on a retreat, or some type of meditation retreat, or those kind of things. Great for that. And Pisces deals with also the state of victimhood, but where we can co-create and realize our power, not destructive through the ego, but our peaceful inner power that we have. And because Pisces is about, can at the low level be, victimhood, that we're a victim to our circumstances and all those kind of things like that, which we're not. It's a time where we can turn that into empowerment. And so Saturn really asks us, whether we like it or not, to face the reality, even if it's hard, and to take the rose-colored glasses off. And Saturn is willing to throw a sledgehammer in our paths if it means that we can get to where we need to get. And seeing the reality, facing the reality, and coming to terms with the practical plane, and how things really are, and balancing the spirituality with sort of the chopping wood carry water, which is in a way spiritual, and so many things relate to spirituality, and if you can connect it to spirituality, especially if it's something or someone you don't like, but understanding that everything has a reason, a spiritual meaning, and the universe is trying to teach us and show us a kind of lesson. Indeed, Saturn is going to be teaching those kind of spiritual lessons. And so taking, seeing reality and facing what is going on in the world, and doing our need to do, doing our due diligence, and doing what we need to do to function in our practical lives. And also, because Pisces can be very emotional, emotionally feeling. And it's a time where we may also learn to manage our emotional nature of feeling our feelings, but then responding in responsible ways, not cutting off the feelings, but responding in responsible ways. Especially if that means that we may, use our feelings in productive ways. If we feel certain feeling for kind of issue, empathy, compassion, or something else, then how are we going to act on that? Or if we feel inspiration, we feel inspired to do something in spirit, we feel a soul calling to do something. Being productive about that. And it's also where any soul agreement that if we feel depressed because we're feeling sick and tired of it, or it's old or boring for us, or not serving us, or we don't feel inspired, uplifted, like it brings us happiness and meaning, or those types of things, if it isn't if it's not meant for us anymore, then now we can be honest with ourselves and let that go, and move on to another kind of agreement, and mountain to climb, or you know or path, or however you want to think about it. And it is knowing that as we climb up to the top of the mountain, there may be another mountain that we need to climb, and acknowledging the journey as opposed to the end destination, remembering that. Another theme with Pisces is escapism, because Pisces is ruled by Neptune, and it deals with film, and it deals with escaping to somewhere else, and especially because it deals with space, it deals with film, books, the imagination, the other worlds, the invisible realms, the things we can't see, the intangible. It deals with the being illusions. It deals with that. Deals with delusions. it also deals with in how we can escape and play a video game or read something or take a sort of departure from this reality, but then set a schedule and balance that with our lives and coming back down to earth and facing reality, and not avoiding when we feel so depressed and not wanting to be here. Not that we're going to feel that, but not giving into more destructive um, coping habits of escapism, such as drugs and alcohol, which is another thing related to Pisces as other altered states of being, and how we can experience this as highs using more healthy outlets to do so, to express ourselves, to um, heal ourselves, nurture ourselves, whatever we feel that we want and need to do. And it may be more difficult to find clarity, but over time that clarity will come to us, and Saturn brings sort of clarity and material, and where um, we may need to find that clarity and say that clarity, um, even if it may be more difficult. But finding clarity, doing things to help us find clarity, huge. Um, and certain feelings of kind of feeling depressed or feeling heightened anxiety or loneliness, we may become more aware of those issues, um, and certain health treatments, spiritual treatments, and when it comes to loneliness, it is about seeking help and seeking people that can help us through that feeling of loneliness and depression, and managing that anxiety and having a support system in place, and um, knowing that you're alone, that you're not just doing this, you are connected to a higher power and your higher self. And so, remembering that is huge. So that is really all. This was a longer video, and the reason why it is because it is 2.5 years that this is going on. So it's just as well. But hopefully you enjoyed this and found this informative, and insightful, and share this video, like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and I will see you and connect with you another time. Bye for now, everyone.